Perhaps the most important element to become familiar with in the Adobe Photoshop user interface is the toolbar. In this video, we will review the tools and their proper functionality. Before we can use any of Adobe Photoshop's tools, we first need to know where they are in the interface and where they are in the toolbar. The toolbar is a vertical window full of what seems like random icons located by default on the left side of the screen. Those icons represent the various tools Photoshop gives us to work with. We can leave the toolbar in a double column, or you can click the small arrow icon at the top of the panel, which will switch it to a single column layout, whichever you prefer. You'll notice an inverted arrow next to some of the tools on our toolbar. That means there are additional options relating specifically to that tool. For now, we're just going to be tackling the default set of tools and cover the hidden tools more in depth in future videos. If you look closely at the toolbar, you'll notice several thin horizontal lines running across the palette. Those lines are there for a reason. While it might appear at first that the toolbar is a random assortment of icons, it's actually divided up into several groups, with each of these groups containing similar types of tools. The first group at the top of the tools palette is referred to as the selections group. This is where you'll find tools that allow you to select parts of your image. By selecting specific areas, you can delete, edit, and apply effects and filters to portions of your image while leaving the unselected areas untouched. There is also the Move tool in this group, which is used to move objects and layers around the canvas. The next group of tools is your Image Editing and Painting group. Here you'll find tools like the Healing Brush and the Clone Stamp tool, both used for touching up photos. You'll find the Eraser tool for erasing parts of an image, the Paint Bucket, and the Brush tool for painting onto an image or layer. You'll also find tools for lightening, darkening, and blurring and sharpening parts of your image. As a web designer, you'll find yourself reaching for this group most often for the painting tools. The third group of tools in the Tools palette is your Vector group, which contains tools that allow you to draw, select, and manipulate vector shapes and create type. This set of tools will become invaluable to you as a web designer. The fourth group is a generalized group of tools. Here you'll find tools like the Zoom tool, which allows you to zoom in and out of a document, and the Hand tool, which allows you to navigate around the screen without affecting the position of any layers. Depending on which version of Photoshop you're using, you might also see the Camera or Object Rotate tool. The fifth group of icons in the Tools palette represent your foreground and background colors. The square in the top left of this group is your foreground color, and the square that appears that it's behind it is the background color. You can change these colors by clicking inside either square, which will bring up the color picker to select a new color. The icon that looks like two small arrows pointing at the larger squares will swap your foreground and background colors. The icon in the bottom left corner of this group will restore your foreground and background colors to their default colors. The last icon is the Quick Mask tool, which is for toggling back and forth between standard editing mode and quick mask mode. We'll discuss what masks are and how to use them in future videos. It can be overwhelming at first to try to memorize all of the symbols on the toolbar, so take advantage of the tooltips that appear when you hover over each of them. In the tooltip, you'll notice in parentheses a letter. This is a keyboard shortcut that you can use to quickly navigate between the tools. Most of these letters correspond to the tool, like Z for zoom or T for text. I recommend you begin learning most of these, as it's extremely helpful when using multiple tools at a time or when concerned with speed and productivity. As you learn how to use Photoshop's tools, the toolbar will quickly become one of the panels you reach for most. Let's take a quick quiz and review some of the tools we touched on in this video.